What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another edition of the Evolution of Sports Talk Television. Got to keep it down in the background because the roommates are in the background here. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. How do we start off this show as we always do here on a Monday, Wednesday night before and after Bucs games? Bring your passion, bring your excitement. Just don't bring any nonsense again. I'm going to try to be as calm. I'm going to try to be as calm as I can be on this show until we get into the real news studio there when we're able to close the door and really have at it tonight. On tonight's show, we will have the legend himself, Mr. Leo Haggerty, former Coach Scout and now media member of Night Sports Productions and Amped Up Sports, former NFL quarterback, Mr. Seneca Wallace, in the building, breaking down the Go Bucs loss to the Kansas City Chiefs in overtime. Talk about Baker Mayfield, his performance, Patrick Mahomes, and I will ask him the question that a lot of Bucs fans want to know. Should Todd Bowles and this Bucs offense gone for two to avoid overtime? And then after that, we will have possibly Ray Kennedy, maybe Harry the Greek, but we'll also have Ralph Williams at 10:30, giving you what else? Turnbuckle talk, professional wrestling action there, WWE, AEW, WWE right now tonight doing an ECW event. You heard me, ECW in Philadelphia. And as always, we'll take your phone calls. 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391 as I've officially moved in. Thank you very much for being patient with me, ladies and gentlemen out there and webheads, because we are in Tampa now. New studio coming. Everything is coming all together at this point. And just looking forward to talking Bucs and, of course, Tampa Bay sports in general. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get him on as we're expecting Mr. Seneca Wallace on with us. But we'll go ahead and get my co-host on. Here we go. Coach Scout and now media member of Night Sports Productions and Amped Up Sports. Let's go out to Mr. Leo Haggerty. Leo Haggerty, welcome to the evolution of a Sports Talk Television, my friend, here on a happy Hump Day edition. If I didn't get it, I did not get it. There, right there on the Sports Web after the Bucs lose to the Kansas City Chiefs 30-24 in overtime. Your initial thoughts of the loss overall? Of course, coming in shorthanded without three of their top wide receiving options. And then on top of it, defensively, just no answer for Patrick Mahomes there in that late third and fourth quarter, and especially the overtime. So give me your initial thoughts. Welcome to the Evolution.
Well, I'm not real well liked in Kansas City, Peter. I went on with Stephen St. John on the morning drive. And he asked me, he said, how do you think this game's going to go? And I said, well, Stephen, I think it's going to be a lot closer than people think. And I think it's going to go overtime. Now, I think Kansas City's going to win because the Bucs just don't have enough firepower. And he just started lamenting. He goes, don't tell me it's going overtime. I got to cover the game. I'm the sideline guy. And I got to get up for the 6 o'clock. I said, bring a pillow. And he goes, Leo Haggerty just told me to bring a damn pillow. And he starts, well, the producer Monday night, when the game went overtime, he goes, there it is. And I said, yeah, there it is. But Peter, I'll tell you what a great effort by the Bucs. I know, it's all about winning and losing, but I tell you what, the look on Baker's face, and here's what, Peter, the thought of going for it for the 2-point conversion, they got to change that overtime rule. It's got to definitely be like it is in the playoffs. You got to get the ball once. The fact that they're saying, okay, the look on Baker's face, it reminded me of Josh Allen when they lost the toss in overtime. They knew right away this is what's going to happen. And I before you even ask it, I am defending Todd Bowles' decision to kick the extra point for two reasons. One, the weather. It was raining. That was not conducive to, going for two. The second is his defense just got a heck of a stop. So I'm thinking, let's get this thing to overtime. If we win the toss, great. But even if we don't, my defense is playing pretty darn good. And you know what? Hey, give the Chiefs some credit. That's a good football team.
Very good football team. Of course, they continue to stay undefeated at 8-0 with some benefit of some calls. But at the end of the day, you definitely have to give Mahomes and that offense credit because they found a way. And he's not necessarily putting up the best statistics besides versus Tampa coming into the game. But they also found a running game in Kareem Hunt. I think that's probably the most disappointing aspect. We'll get back to that in a moment. But this was Bowles with WFLA talking to good friend of the show, Dan Lucas. We had him on the JP Peterson show. He says, and this is what Bowles had to say. I mean, we talked about it as a staff going down there to the end zone, going forward. We understood we're going for one. We're going to get into overtime. We felt we had the momentum with moving the ball on offense. We thought defensively we could hold them to 3, get the ball back, and either tie them or beat them that way as well. Unfortunately, it didn't happen. And for me, that doesn't make any sense because if you have, and this is in care also of Joe Bucs fan, if you have the momentum, Leo, why would you not go for the 2-point conversion? Because namely your offense is getting it done. They've been getting it done the last 2 weeks without Evans, without Godwin, without McMillan. K-Dot has definitely stepped up. And then on top of it, your defense has absolutely struggled for that fourth quarter. They were gassed out because Kareem Hunt was running roughshod, if you will, over 100 yards of rushing, and that defense was not able to get off the field. In fact, time of possession, the Chiefs had 40 minutes. So why not, with all that momentum that you have at that point, go for the 2-point conversion?
Peter, it's going to be coach speak now. You go for 2, you're going from the 2-yard line. So there's 12 yards of 11 defensive players in that small space.
Yeah.
I guarantee you that probably the Chiefs had not seen a 2-point conversion all season. And that's crucial. I was hoping that in that opening game that the Ravens would have got there because they were going for 2. There was no doubt. Harbaugh was signaling.
Right.
That would give the Bucs some idea of how they're going to line up on defense. You know, everybody talks about, well, your 2-point play, 2-point play. Well, you're guessing how that team's going to end up on defense. I don't think it was a conservative call, but I think it was the right call because of the weather, because of you had momentum. You had just got – now, if he wouldn't have got that last stop, that's a whole different animal. But, yeah, he said, you know what, we could hold him to a field goal. And Kareem Hunt – I'd rather see Kareem Hunt running through me than Patrick Mahomes. And, Peter, remember, Todd Bowles was the architect of that defense that completely baffled the Chiefs down in the Super Bowl. And they did the exact same thing. If you watch when they pursued Mahomes, they didn't pursue him upfield. They pursued him toward the sideline. They were going to make sure he didn't turn the corner. And I said that on Kansas City radio. I said, you watch. They're going to come up the middle. They're going to come up the middle with Vita Vea. They're going to come up the middle with Golston. They're going to come up the middle with Kancey. They're going to put pressure. They're going to get color in his face. They're going to make him escape outside. But those edge guys are not going to come up the field. They're going to sit there, and then they're going to go parallel. They're going to move this way. They're not going to move this way. So Patrick Mahomes can't use his athleticism. And Peter, they sacked him 2 or 3 times. So
they sacked him 4 times. I mean, he had 2 sacks by Vea, 2 sacks by Kancey, but at times they also, you're right, they got pressure in his face, but other players in that secondary, and I think that's, and we'll get out to the comments in a moment because we're expecting Seneca Wallace, former NFL quarterback, to give us his thoughts. So have you heard from Seneca at this point?
I sent him, Peter, you talk to the comments. Let me jump off here real quick and I'll text him.
Yeah, let me go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and go out to the webheads because I don't want to neglect you guys. I definitely want you to be a part of the conversation. That's the great thing. And of course, open phone line is always 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. Let's go out to Tim here. Good evening, Peter. What's going on, Tim? How you doing? Yeah. Let's go out to Mauricio. Absolutely should have gone for 2 points. I agree with you, Mauricio. Completely agree. I've said that. over and over again. Last Monday night, late Monday night, I felt like they should have went for the 2 points. And then you look at these comments from Bulls, and again, these are in care of WFLA TV to Dan Lucas. If you feel like your offense has the momentum, why not take advantage of that momentum and go for it at the end of the day? So good stuff there, Mauricio. We have two back-to-back champs on their heels at the goal line to win the game at Arrowhead, and we choose to kick. Terrible decision, right? And look, it's not like the Bucs are not familiar with playing in wet conditions before. They're from Florida, so you get rain. So I really don't understand the explanation, and it falls on the fact of, once again, your defense is gassed out. They haven't been able to stop Kansas City. Kansas City has thoroughly dominated them with, time of possession at 40 minutes, running the ball, doing whatever they want to. And by the way, you put the ball in one of the greatest young quarterbacks' hands at the end of it, and you think you're about to come out and win that game. Let's go back out to Leo Haggerty here. What's the latest?
I just texted him, so I'll see if he gets back to me. But
all right, we'll just continue to read these comments here, but let me go back out to Mauricio. We have the two-time back-to-back champs on their heels at the goal line to win the game at Arrowhead, and we choose to kick. Terrible decision. And that's what I'll also go back to and just said. You put the ball in Patrick Mahomes' hands. You know bad things are going to happen, especially at the end. And you know that terrible, NFL rule for overtime, it favors the team that wins the toss. There's nothing you can do about it. I mean, as soon as Baker lost the toss, you could see where he was. Of course, the NFL rule should be changed, but that's neither here nor there. That's why I don't understand it. That's why I continue to go, why are you putting the ball in Mahomes' hands? They were fortunate, calling that timeout. What did you think of that when Bulls called that timeout with 30 seconds or 30 something? I think it was 33, 34 seconds. Do you think he panicked on that because he get it at the goal line there with Trey Palmer? Why does he call the timeout so quick? Why not bleed the clock down so Mahomes doesn't get another opportunity?
Well, I think, Peter, he wanted to make sure he had the right personnel on the field. And again, I think what happened is because that thing was so close to the goal line, they were waiting to see if they were going to be a touchdown or not. So you know what? That clock ran down about 6, 7, 8 seconds. Now you got to get your goal line people on there. I had no trouble with the timeout. And again, I had no trouble when he said today that we discussed this as we were going. It wasn't something that they scored and said, "Oh, right, are we going for 2?" No, we've already talked about it.
Yeah.
So I give his coaches a lot of credit, because that's the first thing that should have happened, is when they got the ball back, she said, "Okay, when we score, are we going for 2?"
Right.
So, yeah.
All right. So you're looking at the, I think you're looking right there at the text message by Seneca. So
You like that one, Peter?
That's a good look there. Your forehead looks really good, my friend. And now,
hold on. Let me see what.
Let me go ahead and get you out of here as we're producing on air. Evening Peeps, says Christopher Cole. Thanks a lot for tuning in. As always, Tim says, I'm really worried about San Francisco game. The defense played about 5 quarters, and they missed a day of rest. San Francisco has a great ground game. And oh, by the way, Christian McCaffrey is returning. It's something's got to change here. Something with the linebacking situation. Britt has to step up, or you make changes with Russell, or somebody on that defensive line besides Vita Vea has to make some plays. You have to stop the running game, because if San Francisco is able to get up in this game and run the ball, you're basically done. You're toast. You're looking at 4-6, and they have weapons on this team that scare the hell out of you, because the defense is, in most categories, and this is from Greg Auman of Fox Sports, 30th total defense, 28th in scoring, 30th in pass, 19th in run, 24th in interception percentage, 23rd in third down conversions, 21st in red zone, 17th in sack percentage. Leo, we got the firepower, my friend. Yeah, I mean, Greg, if you ask me, the last couple of weeks with, again, the loss of Evans and Godwin, and losing McMillan, and how Cade Otton has stepped up, and Sterling Shepard and Trey Palmer. The offense is not the problem right now. That's the disappointing thing. Leo, if you just had an average defense, you most likely would win a couple of these games. Right?
Well, you have an average defense right now. You kept Kansas City in the 20s. And I think Todd Bowles was happy with that.
Right.
You kept him in the 20s. That offense is explosive. And again, your offense, it's missing a lot of pieces, but people are stepping up and making plays.
Yeah.
So,
What's the biggest problem with this defense right now, besides the obvious thing, not having a consistent edge rusher? What is it? Linebacking? Is it KJ Brett? Is it the secondary? Antoine Winfield Jr. I go back to the play the other night, 35-yard pass. Mahomes is pressured, still is able to make that pass to DeAndre Hopkins, but there's 3 players around on defense. Why isn't somebody trying to make a play? And I get it, Winfield Jr. is trying to go for the interception, but at that point, if you're a corner, don't you try to knock that down so he doesn't get that long play there for 1st and goal?
Well, the hardest thing, Peter, is, are you playing zone or are you playing man? If you're playing man, you're not looking at the quarterback. If you're playing zone, all you're doing is looking at the quarterback. So, yeah, that's it. It's a conglomeration of things on defense. You got guys playing out of position, and that's a big problem right now. It all starts up front, Peter.
Yeah.
If you don't get a pass rush, you're just letting those guys out on a limb. And that's not good.
Are you surprised that they didn't make any moves at the trading deadline? Should they have made a move for a Myles Garrett or a Max Crosby? A lot of people would say, listen, you got to pay that guy, and then on top of it, you give up maybe a 1st-round pick or a 2nd-round pick. But at the end of the day, isn't it worth it to get an edge guy? Because, for this team right now, Yaya Diaby, very inconsistent. JTS, he is just a guy at this point. I would rather see Chris Braswell or somebody like that get more reps. He's struggling. He's not able to finish. He's not able to get to the quarterback. Are you surprised that they weren't more active at the trading deadline?
Again, Peter, it's hard to criticize Jason Light because he does a great job of evaluating what's there.
Right.
And again, will one edge rusher make the difference when? And I think the reason he's not doing anything is he's probably going to lose Evans for longer than he thinks. I think that may be – they may be just saying, okay, let's not panic. Let's try to get to 8 wins, try to get to 9 wins, see if we can sneak in that way.
Yeah.
Atlanta will collapse because, the Saints and Carolina, they're out of it already.
Right.
Now – let's see what happens with Atlanta. But when Atlanta won, I'm saying, you know what? This may be a tough team to catch no matter what you bring in. Because now, with your record and their record, and they beat you twice. So really, they hold a 3-game lead. If they end up tied, they hold the tiebreaker.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. You're down by 2 games now, and Kirk Cousins has definitely played well, and that Atlanta team finds a way to win with Raheem Morris at the helm at this point, so it's going to be tough to catch that team, and that's what I kind of mentioned the other day on the Facebook post. The reason why they don't go out there and get a wide receiver, number one, Sterling Shepard has stepped up, Trey Palmer has stepped up, and also Cade Otton has stepped up, but you're expecting Mike Evans back. Good news today at practice. He was walking around, running a little bit, so they expect him back after the bye week, which will be great to have him. That's the reason why you don't make a deal for a wide receiver, and then namely Jamel Dean coming off the IR. What do you see with this secondary? Why do they continue to have coverage breakdowns? Why are guys getting free releases? You saw Travis Kelce, especially in the middle of the field, and now you have Greg Kittle coming in. Are you concerned about that matchup when a tight end plays this defense? Why is it like that, Leo?
Tight end's pretty damn good, Peter. Let's be real here.
Yeah.
You're dealing, and I'm not a Shanahan fan. You know that.
Sure.
But I'll tell you what, you're dealing with Andy Reid and Kyle Shanahan back to back, maybe the 2 best designers of offensive schemes going. Now, McKay, he'll give you a run for money out in LA, but I'll tell you what, it's Andy Reid and gosh, they find ways to get people open quickly. And that's,
Sure.
look at what was happening. Mahomes was catching it and getting rid of it, catching it and getting rid of it. Very short passes, but they had guys open. And you know what? If you look at the biggest problem the Bucs are having, it's with that bunch formation.
Mm-hmm.
Because people are coming out in whole different angles all over the place, and that causes total confusion. You know, okay, I got the inside guy, but if he breaks out behind those two, are we bumping him? Are we zone? Are we? The bunch creates all sorts of discombobulation for the defense.
Why is Josh Hayes on DeAndre Hopkins? How does that matchup work? Why isn't Zion McCollum? I get it. Offensive coordinators are trying to expose that, which they did. But how can you have a rookie on a wide receiver that seems like he still has something left in the tank? He's a crafty veteran. He can definitely get open. How does Hayes get on Hopkins?
You got to cover somebody. And again, what you don't see teams doing is they don't flop corners anymore.
Right.
You know, when Deion Sanders was playing, he would just go with the toughest. He would have them. Now you got a right corner and a left corner. You got a slot corner. It's real easy to put that guy out there because you know where he is.
Yeah.
And it's a matchup nightmare. You got a rookie on a guy who's just he owned him.
Right.
You can do one of two things. You can double him, or you can try to get pressure on the quarterback and make him go somewhere else. Well, guess what? I think the Bucs thought it was better off to not double him because most of the time Mahomes was going to Kelsey.
Yeah.
Catches, right, Peter?
Yes. Yeah. 14 catches for 100 yards right down the middle, free release. And again, you got Greg Kittle coming in here. So that would definitely worry me on Sunday. Getting a good snap, hold, and kick under those circumstances is no guarantee, says Tim. College O2 rules, please, but they should start on the 40, but only a field goal on the first drive, says Christopher Cole. What do you think about what Christopher Cole said? And let's go back to Tim here. Getting a good snap, hold, and kick under those circumstances is no guarantee. So I think that goes back to the extra point, which kind of defeats the purpose of what Bowles was saying. The reason why he doesn't go for 2 is because of the wet conditions. Well, why not flip that and say, well, what if you missed the extra point because of the wet conditions? Wouldn't that make it more conducive, Leo Word, to go with that 2-point conversion? Does that make sense?
It would, but you got to remember, when you're kicking an extra point, you're getting a dry ball.
Right.
Because it's not in play. You don't know what you're getting with the 2-point conversion. Plus, they no longer put that towel over the ball.
Right.
So, yeah, you're dealing with things you can't control.
Yeah.
And I'm not a big Todd Bowles fan when it comes to time management or that, but I got to agree with him here. You've got to get the sure point. What I'm seeing in the NFL now, Peter, is just some terrible management of people passing on field goals to go for 4th downs.
Right.
And just never pass up points, especially the first points of the game. Almost 2/3 of the time, 67% in the NFL, the team that scores first wins the football game. 67%.
The fan base is up in arms, and I said, look, I'm not one of those guys that says Todd Bowles needs to be fired, but I definitely think that if it continues the way it goes here, where your defense is struggling and he is the defensive coordinator, that there would be some type of evaluation process also with the questionable decisions. In your opinion right now, do you think Todd Bowles is on the hot seat, or should the fan base just calm down and maybe give him some grace, as one fan said, because of all the injuries, especially to Evans and Godwin being out for the year?
Peter, let's be honest. All 32 of them are on the hot seat. I don't care what it is.
Wow.
Because you can go from Hosanna to crucify him in 2 or 3 weeks. Look what happened in New Orleans. Everybody thought that New Orleans was going to run away with the South. 2-0, everything going, and man, that thing went to hell in a handbasket real quick. Cost Allen his job.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to be careful because you're always on the hot seat when you're in the NFL because there's always someone out there. Hey, guess who's out there, guys? Bill Belichick. Hanging out there. Believe me, all these guys are looking over their shoulder going, hey, here's Bill. And, he's hireable. So, yeah, I think he's on the hot seat, but that's not something that they're not used to. I think he was on the hot seat last year as well. They had to produce.
Right.
So it's you know what the NFL stands for, Peter? Not for long.
Yeah, not for long. And I go back to it. Some guys are better coordinators than coaches. Do you think that could be the case with Bowles?
No. It's you got a new offensive coordinator. They're starting to pick things up, and then all of a sudden they lose two vital parts of that puzzle.
Yeah.
They lose Godwin, and then McMillan goes down.
Right.
Whether you want to admit it or not, these guys played extremely well, but they're the JV. I mean, these are guys that wouldn't be seeing the field more than 4, 5, 6 snaps. Now they're expected to make 40 or 50. Yeah. So that's a whole different animal when it comes to what's happening in the National Football League. And everybody says it's next man up. Next man up isn't the problem. It's next men up when it gets to be a problem. When you have Evans, Godwin, and McMillan go down, now you're on to 4, 5, and 6. That's a whole difference than 2, 3, and 4.
How surprised are you by this defense and their struggles? And do you think eventually with Bowles, could he be asked by Jason Light or ownership to relinquish defensive coordinator responsibilities to pass that on to an assistant coach? Or do you think Bowles continues to call the defense here? Because again, you could talk about the clock decisions, the management being conservative, timeouts, but at the end of the day, once again, he's calling these defensive plays and his defense has struggled. So is there a possibility that somebody from up top could say, you know what, you need to relinquish these defensive coordinator abilities, just focus on being a head coach? And how surprised are you by this defense and their struggles this year?
Peter, I don't think you'll get that call in mid-year. I think you may get the call at the end of the year.
Okay.
Again, if you keep a team in the 20s or less, that's not a bad job.
Right.
Because every rule in the National Football League favors the offense.
Sure.
It just favors them. And again, the injury situation with the Bucs, it's not necessarily people who are out. It's people that are having to play hurt. Don't tell me Levante David is not playing hurt. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
The guy's doing what he needs to do, but the fact that he's giving it all he's got, but my God, you can see he's in pain. And Vita Vea, same thing. These guys are banged up. And I just don't think it's a real good thing right now to say, well, this defense is struggling. Well, they're not struggling. They're average. And average isn't bad. You want to look at a bad defense, hey, go look at the Saints. That's a bad defense. But again, you can keep a team in the low 20s or less. That's a great defensive effort.
With that being said, why does this team struggle so much when it comes to third down conversions and also fourth down conversions? Because Greg Allman broke it down today. Fourth down conversions, opposing teams are 14 for 19, something like 74%. What are other teams doing against that Bucs defense? Are they playing too conservative? You see guys 10, 15 yards back. I mean, why are they struggling to get off the field on third down especially?
You know what, Peter? If you look what's happening, I think the one thing Bowles has changed is he's not blitzing as much. This team used to blitz almost 40% of the snaps on passing situations. They're not doing that anymore. I don't know if they just don't have the people up front to get it done. I don't think I just don't think they're comfortable with their front seven, with guys having to play out of position, guys banged up, guys that are in there that you don't expect to be in there. Because if you don't get a pass rush, you're going to – if the quarterback can throws it, and I know, ladies and gentlemen, that I've preached this, but if the quarterback can throw it where he wants to, when he wants to, and to whom he wants to, you got a great exhibition of that Monday night. You're getting beat.
All right. I want to continue with this Todd Bowles conversation. We'll get out to newest analyst of Amped Up Sports, Mr. Ryan Neal, talking about LSU. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, along with the legend himself, Mr. Leo Haggerty. There's a lot of fan base saying you fire Bowles because you want to keep Liam Cohen because he could definitely be a hot commodity, especially for a team like the Saints who just fired Dennis Allen. Is there a thought process that if you don't make the playoffs, or let's say you get to the playoffs, don't win a division, do you fire Todd Bowles to save Liam Cohen for going somewhere else?
Ooh. I don't know, Peter, because when you look at what's happening, offensive coordinators turn over faster than prom dates. It's just the way of the world. I think that you haven't seen one there. Oh, hey.
Yes, Alexander, I think he agrees with you, although a lot of the fan base would say Liam Cohen right now, even with all the losses at this point, has a top 5 offense. They're still getting it done, and you would hate to lose him because let's face it, this offense is highly explosive. You haven't seen an offense like this since 2020 with Tom Brady. In fact, if you really want to look at it, the numbers, they're actually better without all those weapons. So a lot of people are looking at it and saying, you don't want to lose Liam Cohen like you lost Dave Canales. Maybe you fire Todd Bowles and move on because of that. But then again, this Bucs organization did that in the past with Dirk Cutter, and that didn't work out. Are you surprised that Cohen has had so much success, especially with the Baker Mayfield, leading the league with passing touchdowns?
No, not at all. Again, he comes from the Sean McVay tree. And if you look what's happening there, they're all coming off of Andy Reid, and they're all moving, Andy Reid and Sean McVay, who are offensive geniuses. I don't think you fire Bowles because then you'd have to move Cohen up, but I don't think he's ready for that. I mean, he's very happy right where he's at as the coordinator.
All right, let's go ahead and I'm sorry, go ahead, Leo.
And I just don't think you want to really start playing the guessing game that, okay, we're not going to do this because this may happen. Now, again, if you got a guy under contract, you can decline from letting him, interview places. Yeah. I remember when Tony Dungy went to Indianapolis, the Glazers told the defensive staff, you're not going anywhere. We're not going to let you interview.
Right.
And they can do that as long as it's not a step up. I think now if you're like a coordinator and then you're being able to interview for a head coaching job, then they can't stop that.
No, they can't. And that's what a lot of fans are worried about, and they should be worried about because, again, he's done a hell of a job with the loss of all the weapons. He's definitely got the most out of Baker Mayfield. You don't want to lose that continuity and have another offensive coordinator for Baker Mayfield because we know that when you continue to change offensive coordinator after offensive coordinator, it does hinder that quarterback's development, especially a guy like Baker Mayfield. So I want to read the rest of these comments, and then we will get out to Ryan. Stand by there because I know you want to talk about some Saints football firing Dennis Allen and, of course, LSU. College OT rules, please, but they should start on the 40, but only a field goal. Greg Cole, Sterling Shepard is shooting out. That looks hopeful. Absolutely. Cam Decker says fire Todd Bowles. I'm not going to read the political nonsense. I don't get why Light hasn't made a single move to address any of our deficiencies that other teams have, namely Washington getting Marcus Lattimore, which by the way, or Marshawn Lattimore, excuse me. So that matchup between Evans and Lattimore is officially dead. I think a lot of Evans fans out there would be excited about that because Lattimore has most likely dominated. Not most likely has. Fire Bowles, says Cam Decker. If we fire Bowles, who will get a head coach? Excuse me. If we fire Bowles, who will we get as a head coach? Just asking, everyone keeps saying that, but do we have any prospects? It goes back to Liam Cohen being the number one guy, in my opinion. Peter, why don't you become a head coach? Cam, just trolling at this point. You'd be better than Bowles. Let's stop it now. Okay, I'm not reading that. Give Bulls one more game. San Francisco at home is a great test to see if we have some fight left. Peter Blake for Bucs head coach. Thank you, Mauricio.
Oh, yeah.
Let me jump in there, because if you're going to get rid of Bowles, it'll be after San Francisco. Why?
Because you got a bye week. Yeah. And the Glazers don't usually do that. They never fire a coach in midseason. So anybody hoping or praying for that. And again, here is a team that went 4-7 last year, and then they made their run, and they were able to turn it up there. But the defense has been largely disappointing, and you would have to say that, in my opinion, this defense has a lot more talent. Bringing over Jordan Whitehead, pairing him with Antoine Winfield Jr., re-signing him, having Yaya Diaby for his second year there. JTS thinking he's going to bring something to the show. Isaac Cansey, much more talented, and yet they have clearly regressed. Let's go out to David. I think the problem with this defense is, I'm sad to say, I loved Levante David, but he's the leader of this defense. We have nobody like JPP or Sue that will get in people's faces when they mess up. Is that what you see? Lack of leadership when it comes to this defense?
No, I don't. I just see a defense right now that's got people banged up, got people hurt, got people injured. And Peter, weren't we having this same conversation when the Bucs won the Super Bowl after the Kansas City game? Hey, is Bruce Arians the right guy? And then all of a sudden, hey, bada bing, bada boom. They went to a bye week. Remember that. I keep telling people this. The Eagles had their bye week 5. They've got to play 12 straight weeks. That is not good. The Bucs are crawling into their bye week, which they did exactly the same thing when they won the Super Bowl. They got a chance to go out. They self-scout. These guys can get rested. They'll get guys back. If they get beat by San Francisco, okay, not that big a deal. But you can get rest. You can get going. Now, just don't get embarrassed. That's the big thing. But if you go into the bye week with a win, and again, Peter, what time is that game Sunday?
I believe it's at 1 o'clock.
That's 10 o'clock body time for San Francisco. Advantage Buccaneers.
Well, there you go. And absolutely, there's a revenge factor because the last 2 years, San Francisco with Tom Brady blew their doors off. I got a little bit closer last year. Cade Otton, namely missing a couple of critical passes there to make some plays, but he's definitely stepped up. All that game show me where we stand. I'm not mad at all. Greg says go into 2 in that situation. Here's why. It's a miracle. You got OT because of stupid timeout. They had too much time left in regulation with all 3 timeouts. The defense did give a chance. We have one of the best offenses in the NFL, probably the best quarterback in the NFL at this point, with a very good running game and passing game with the defending champion ropes. You go for 2, and you can't rely on our defense to stop them in regulation or OT. Let's go out to Kristen Cole.
Real quick, unless I was watching a different game, guys, they stopped them right before that to get the ball back.
They did. They have some stops in the game.
Stop overreacting. Stop jumping off the damn Sunshine Bridge. It's one football game.
Yeah.
If they'd have went for 2 and not made it, you'd be sitting here bitching and moaning about why didn't he kick the extra point and get him there. It was a no-win. It's a no-win as a coach. Understand, he took the best route for his team. If they win the toss, they probably win the game.
Yeah.
Take that chance anytime.
All right, let's read the rest of these comments, and Ryan, stand by. It would be easier for a rookie on rookie. Tim says, I agree with Leo, never pass points. David says, I'm sorry, I'm tired of hearing about a wet ball. We live in central part of Florida where it rains a lot. If you can't handle a wet ball, what the hell are you doing in practice? Christopher Cole, I believe that this is Bulls last year, regardless of our record. That's what Christopher Cole says. David says, I feel it's time to let Todd Bowles go because how many years do we waste waiting on Tony Dungy to get over the hump? We wasted all those years. It's always made me think if we were and had an offensive-minded head coach sooner, we would at least one more Super Bowl. And David again says, I'm sorry, but we didn't say that about the Atlanta game. It was just one game. Let's go out to our newest analyst here of Amped Up Sports. Let's go out to Mr. Ryan Neal. Talking about the Saints, and I want to get to them first. Welcome to the Evolution, my friend. How you doing tonight?
Spectacular. Thanks for having me, as always.
Yeah, man, absolutely. Were you surprised that they canned Dennis Allen for the Saints, and how happy were you when they did?
I was super happy, as the entire Saints fan base was. The only question we had was, why not last year? And, it's just the same thing. They come out. Last year, though, the big difference was we had a good defense. This year, it all fell apart. Injuries have plagued us on all sides of the ball. We were kind of like, oh, Spencer Rattler, let's go. And they were like, oh, yeah, he's a rookie who likes to throw it into double coverage and throws really weird suspect balls. And so that was no surprise. But there was a lot of trade rumors going around. And I think the saddest part of this week was seeing Lattimore leave. I think for every Saints fan, that was a huge loss to us. I understand it. However, I hate the fact that we only get a third, a fourth, and a seventh. I understand he's injured, but I think we kind of got fleeced in that trade. Like, I think we could have gotten so much better. We're looking for draft picks. We're in rebuild phase. We have like a 32-year-old Cam Jordan. We have Demario Davis, who's nearly in retirement. And our defense is and then Tyrann Mathieu, who's 32 years old. We got some guys back there that are getting old. Derek Carr can't throw a ball, 5 yards without it being a pick. And Alvin Kamara, he's our dog. He's our one guy. And, in this age of where the running back is dying out and being phased, him and Derrick Henry, to me, prove the running back is still, and Saquon Barkley, forgot him, that it deserves respect and attention towards. And with the Saints, we're in rebuild. Seeing Lattimore leave was a knife in the heart.
Yeah, it was a knife in the heart, and he brings up a great point there, Leo. Do you think the Saints did get fleeced by Washington, and with Washington now 7-2, which, by the way, the Bucs defeated that team with a rookie quarterback, but they have definitely taken off, have lots of confidence. Is now Washington a player in that NFC with that Lattimore move?
It's not going to hurt them, that's for sure. But again, we're waiting to see when Washington has to go through basically Philly twice, Dallas twice. Okay, that's what we're waiting to see what happens with Washington, because that's just you're asking for trouble there, because these teams are they feast on rookie quarterbacks. And what the Bears basically did when they allowed Washington to beat them on last play is they just exuded the confidence level of Jaden Daniels. And again, Peter, I have preached since day one that the Bears took the wrong guy again. I think that's now Caleb Williams isn't chopped liver, but you got filet mignon down in Washington, that's for sure. Daniels.
Well, listen, we knew this because we talked to Brian Kelly, and I continue to mention that. We talked to him at the ReliQuest Bowl, and he said, listen, this guy is going to come in. He's going to command the building. He's going to command the locker room. He's well beyond his years. He said that Daniels was the right pick. Is it fair to judge both of these quarterbacks right now? Because it seems like Caleb, it doesn't seem like, but Williams is definitely doesn't have the offensive line that Jaden Daniels. I think the Washington organization has done a hell of a job of putting those weapons around him. Is Caleb Williams getting enough help in Chicago? And is it like Groundhog Day where they fire a defensive coach, they bring another coach, they bring in another offensive coordinator, and once again stunt the growth of a young quarterback in Caleb Williams?
You know what, Peter? There's a saying in coaching, and I'm going to clean it up for streaming. You can't make chicken salad out of chicken soup.
Well, when it's go like that, I know exactly what you're talking about, Ryan. You've watched both of these quarterbacks. Of course, Daniels being the top story in the National Football League. Caleb Williams coming in with the hype and struggling lately because of the offensive line and because of being a rookie. In your opinion, do you think Chicago has given Williams enough around him to be successful? And is it unfair right now to compare him to Daniels?
I always say wait 3 to 4 years. That's when you evaluate the draft class as a whole. Give them some time, let them fill in through their shoes. Both teams, they were kind of going into the season. They thought the Commanders, they're, kind of pushed them to the side. Don't think much about them. Same thing with Chicago. It's kind of like, let's wait and see. And, Williams struggled in some games. He did. And I think he had one game this year. He threw like 87 yards and like less than 50% pass percentage. Jaden Daniels hasn't done that. And both quarterbacks in college were very good at extending the plays. Just Jaden Daniels can extend the play and make multiple players miss and can outrun the whole defense. Caleb Williams can't do those two things.
It's a good point. It's a great point here. And it's kind of like CJ Stroud, and Bryce Young. Carolina right now taking themselves, even though Bryce Young and Carolina beat the Saints. Ryan, how surprised were you by that Panther win over the Saints? Did you expect that on Sunday?
I didn't expect it, but when I heard they lost, I was like, all right, that's got to be the nail in the coffin. Let's open the door, kick them out. Open the door, kick them out. That's what I was like. But, yeah, it was a surprise, to say the least.
All right, Leo, I know you want to shift gears here, talk some college football. Let's talk about it. You want to lead this off here with LSU?
Well, I'll tell you what, a huge game coming up, and I'm going to defer to my younger compatriot here. Tell us about what the Tigers are looking at this weekend.
So it's essentially an SEC elimination game from the college football playoff, and it's between number 11 Alabama, who's going to be visiting the number 15 LSU Tigers in Death Valley at night, with a hurricane kind of going towards that way. So we're hoping it doesn't hit, and I think it's kind of diverged a little bit, but I'm not too sure. But it's going to be a huge matchup. It's against two teams that are quite eerily similar in a lot of ways, as in that their defense is a little suspect at times. The offense is extremely pass-oriented. And then you have a scrambler quarterback at one, and you have a pocket passer at the other. It all leans on which quarterback comes out and leads their team to victory this game. It's going to be because Nussmeier last game against Tech, he lost us the game at Texas A&M, frankly. He threw 3 terrible interceptions that were only reminiscent of like Nathan Peterman. Like it was terrible. And he lost us that game. And I don't want to hear anything from Brian Kelly saying like they have to do better at coaching. These players aren't doing the disciplined things. Well, it's been 3 years and it's been the same undisciplined things happening. And a lot of similarities in those things. But with this game in Alabama, ESPN gives Alabama a 70% chance of winning, which is extremely nice towards them because they did about the same thing with Ole Miss. And while Ole Miss nearly lost that game, LSU nearly lost that game, they fought back and won. And I think LSU fans are really going to show out because this is Kalen DeBoer's first year in a real college football stadium, a real one. Not just Tennessee, but also LSU. He's got to go there. We're going to give him heck.
Do you think coaching holds them back with LSU and Brian Kelly because he's talked about it, his team being undisciplined, not being able to finish? In your opinion, can they finish Alabama this Saturday night?
Yes, I do believe we can. So the thing I've said about LSU since Brian Kelly's got there is this team's a second half team. Against Texas A&M, that was the opposite. We came out flat, made mistake after mistake. Texas A&M takes out Connor Wegman. They put in Marcel Reed, who's a scrambling quarterback. They were caught with their pants down. They were not ready for him at all. Guy came out and ran all over us like we were like water, basically, just cutting right through, no stress. And so when it comes down to Alabama, when we come at it, do we receive the ball or do we kick the ball to start the game? Most of Brian Kelly's losses at LSU, we have lost because we received to start the game, and we go down. We are down like 17-7 at half. The other team gets the ball at half, and they go down and kind of put the nail in the coffin of the game. They make it 24-7, 24-3 or something, and then it's like, okay, it's insurmountable. And then the team gets deflated. Please, Brian Kelly, if you hear me, I love you to death. Please listen. Kick the ball to start the game. Give Jalen Milroe to come out on 1st and 10 with no time off the clock in the first quarter with LSU in a night game. We're going to make him to where he can even talk to that center. He's not going to be able to hear his own thoughts. He's not going to be able to function.
Good stuff there. I want to read this comment, Leo, because it's directed at you. So you can go ahead and come back. He says, no one is bitching, Leo. Just an observation. Also, I believe we come out of the bye and win a bunch of games considering the schedule and end up possibly with 11 wins. I've never jumped ship, my friend. So there you go. And exactly right here, guys, with that second half of the schedule, you got 2 against the Panthers. You know, it's the National Football League. Everybody's going to give you your best effort, but you should win both of those games. You have a Saints team with a new coaching staff there. You also have the Giants. You have the Cowboys. You'd be looking to fire their coach. So there's definitely some winnable games on that schedule where the Bucs could definitely run the table. Leo, what else do you have to say?
Yeah, and Peter, let's jump back to college real quick. There's another huge game. Talk about elimination game. Georgia has to go down and play Ole Miss. I tell you what, the SEC thought they were getting 5 teams in. They're going to pretty much eliminate themselves when they get to 3 losses, because you're going to find a lot of teams like a BYU, an Oregon, Indiana.
Yeah.
They have just 1 loss. It's going to be hard to say, well, we got a 3-loss team we're putting in over a 1-loss team. That's not a good thing.
Yeah, go ahead, Ryan. Talk about that.
So with Georgia and Ole Miss, these teams have played quite often, actually, since 2020. And Georgia's gotten the best of Ole Miss every time because Ole Miss is a good offense, bad defense. Georgia is fairly good offense, very, very, very good defense. Now, remember what I said a couple weeks ago towards the beginning of the season, that Carson Beck is not even a top 5 quarterback in this draft? Can we agree on that? The dude threw 3 terrible interceptions, nearly 5 in that game last week where they barely pulled it out. He is not a good quarterback. He's Stetson Bennett 2.0. That's about it. And that's their weakness. That is it. They have a good O-line, a good run game. They have the receivers out there. They just don't have that guy under center, which is actually a surprise with how Georgia recruits. But I do think Georgia still has many legs up on Ole Miss. I think that Lane Kiffin has 1 leg out the door, one leg inside. I do think he takes a job at a different SEC school next year. So I don't think Ole Miss wins this game. I think Georgia wins it pretty fair and square.
Possibly Florida. That's what I'm looking at here. Yeah. And, Stetson Bennett's not too bad. Not an NFL prospect, but he did win a couple of championships there, young Ryan, with the Georgia Bulldogs. This is one of the things I enjoy, because my mother always comes on here and says she's watching the greatest sports talk show in the Tampa Bay area, as biased as she is. I love you, Mom. Your check is in the mail. Also, your mom just decided to chime in here. She says, why is Death Valley such a hard area to play in? Coming from Ryan's mom, that Lily does not know. So go ahead and answer your mom there, Mr. Ryan Neal, on why Death Valley is so tough to play at.
Well, hello, my biggest critic. I love you. So I just say hi. So LSU can fit nearly 105,000 people in its stadium. It's a stadium that's nearly 120 years old. It's a historic monument, as they would say, a cathedral towards college football. And when you get a night game in Death Valley, it never rains. It's always a perfect evening for college football. And you get 105,000 screaming LSU fans in an echo chamber on top of you. In the student section is the entire south end zone. So whenever we normally do the coin toss, we always try to have it to where the team in the 4th quarter has to go into that student section zone. And when you're there, I don't care what headphones you have on, you're not hearing them.
You know what, Peter? Let me throw another thing in. There's 105,000 rabid fans there, and there are 40,000 drunks in the parking lot still.
Yep.
It is loud. It is crazy. And it's a place you do not want to play at night. That's for sure.
Brian Kelly's undefeated at night in Death Valley. So
wow.
Just one stat I'm throwing out there.
Good stat there. And speaking of drunks, guys, are you surprised that they did move? How much are you surprised by the fact they moved Georgia versus Florida? I believe Jacksonville is getting renovated, but Raymond James Stadium gets them. So how surprised were you that Raymond James picked up that game here? I believe it's in 2027, Leo.
Not surprised at all. Again, it's a game that. Again, I'm going to go back to what I talked to people. I talked to Barry Alvarez when he was the AD. And I said, Barry, how many home games do you need to cover your nut right now? And covering a nut means you're covering football and all the other sports. Said, I need 7, and every 4th year I need a neutral site game, like when LSU came up and played Wisconsin up at Lambeau Field, okay? I asked the Tennessee athletic director, I said, how about you? He said, well, we put 110,000 in there.
Yeah.
And I said, well, how much do you make? Now, this is 15 years ago, never expecting an answer. He said, $4 million a game just on ticket sales. That's not parking. That's not concessions.
Wow.
Tell you what, that's why you want to have a lot of home games. And that's why you're going to see teams that they're going to try to get, they're going to have to play 4 and 4, but those other 4 games, they're going to be home games because they're going to need the money.
All right, let's go back out to the comments here. Mike D. Roche from Canada. Hey, Peter, go Bucs, go Bucs.
How about them Bucs, baby?
Go Bucs. There you go. And let's go out to Greg Cole here. He says, fire those cannons. So there you go, my friend, right there. Open phone lines if you want to talk college football or about your Tampa Bay Buccaneers. 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. I'm your host, Peter Blake, your Rolex reporter, along with the legend himself, Mr. Leo Haggerty, former Coach Scout and now media member of Night Sports Productions and Amped Up Sports, and, of course, newest analyst of Amped Up Sports, Mr. Ryan Neal. Leo, Miami continues to get by, but slither by no less. Are we concerned that eventually they're going to run out of luck, or are they going to run the table, if you will? My roommate is in the background here. He's a big-time Miami Hurricane fan, so he wants to know this answer.
I predicted, Peter, on your show before the season started, Ohio State playing Miami in the finals. And I tell you what, as long as Cam Ward's under center, you're not going to beat them. They're that good. And when they played up here against USF, comparing Alabama to Miami was like apples and oranges. Miami was big, fast, which Alabama was big and fast. But you know what? Miami was mean and nasty.
Right.
Especially on defense. And that's what you got to watch. Is as long as they can stay healthy, I think Miami runs the table. Now, the question is, who do they play? Right now, it's SMU. They're sitting second because Clemson got beat by Louisville. So if SMU, finishes undefeated, you got SMU playing Miami to get in. I think what you're going to see, though, is SMU may lose the game out there. And then they'll have to go to the highest-rated team, which will probably be Clemson,
right?
Over SMU, and a Clemson-Miami final is what the ACC wants. Because I'll tell you what, that'll be a barn burner.
Is it, in your opinion, is Cam Ward the Heisman Trophy winner this year? Is he the leader in the clubhouse, or is it somebody else that we should be paying attention to?
You know what, guys? Here's the problem: they give that award before the daggone tournament's done.
Yep.
And that they got to back that up because now there are teams that got 3 or 4 games still. And I tell you what, Peter, I got to get off here soon, but I'm going to throw this out.
Yeah.
I still think you're going to see a lot of players opt out of games, even in the tournament. Because if you're seeded 9, 10, 11, or 12, you're going to have to play 4 more games. That's not conducive to someone who's looking at being a first or second round pick. I'm going to go to the guy at Boise State, the running back.
I'm picking the same guy. Ashton Gianti is amazing. He might be breaking a Barry Sanders record from Oklahoma State back in the day. And then if not him, if for something happens, right now he's the clear favorite. Guy is going off every single game. They nearly beat Oregon. It was a 3-point loss. That's their only loss. Not that big of a thing in the world to worry about. But then number 2 is Travis Hunter at Colorado. The fact that he's not just playing 2 positions, but being fairly dominant in 2 positions and playing every snap in the ball game, that's amazing in itself. But he's being overshadowed by Ashton Gianti this year because that guy, he's amazing.
Talking about Hunter, he mentions Heisman Trophy consideration. You think of Charles Woodson. I believe Woodson played some wide receiver there, also played some safety, some corner and wide receiver. With Travis Hunter, when he gets to the NFL, because most likely he'll be a top 5, top 10 pick. If you're an NFL team, and that's right, Alexander, you're exactly right. If you're an NFL general manager, where do you play him, Leo? And it's a good problem to have. Do you play him at corner or do you play him at wide receiver? Where's most of his value at, in your opinion?
Corner, because there's not that many of them that are big and lanky and athletic. We used to have a joke when we were talking about coaching. Why are these guys playing defense and not offense? Because they can't catch.
Right.
That's why they're defensive back. So, yeah, it's I think he is more valuable as a corner because he can do more things. Wide receivers, you can find guys that can be wide receivers. You can't find guys that can be cover corners, shut down cover. He's a shutdown guy.
I agree completely. It's just the only thing is that when it gets to that draft time, it's going to be what that team needs most. And if that team needs a wide receiver and they fall there and they see him, they might say, well, if he doesn't work at receiver, we can throw him on defense. And then I could see a team doing that with him. But I completely agree with you, Leo. They should put him at corner and just leave him strictly there. He's awesome at it. He's long and lengthy. He's physical up front and press. He's a dog. And that's where his forte is. As you said, you can find a receiver. You can't find a solid shutdown corner, and that's what he is.
Leo, what if he's a player that says, you know what, I'm not going to your team unless you let me play both sides of the ball? Do you think that can work? Can that work for his career? Can he's able to do that? Or eventually will it take on his body where you have those injuries where you're going to have to play him at one position?
Well, Peter, I lied to him. I'd say, yeah, I'm the general manager. We're going to play at both positions. We're going to get there and say, now you're going to play corner.
Liar. You're a liar, Leo. Liar, Leo. Leo's a liar.
Or what you say is, yeah, we'll play at 2, but we're going to pay you for one position.
Exactly. You know what? I'll put you in with you the Hail Mary. That'll be your Peter, you can be selective with him.
Right.
But yeah, think about this. If he's playing corner, and it's an 8, 9, 10, 12 play drive, he's going to go right in on offense? No. Oh, no. That's not what's going to happen. So, yeah, you can use him selectively. I guarantee you they'll have some sort of, package for Hunter as a wide receiver, but it will not be something you see on a regular basis.
Listen, I know you got to run, but we're going to cover USF versus Navy. That's a noon showdown. How do you see this game playing out?
Ooh, Peter, this is a tough one because, and I asked the coordinators today, I said, biggest problem you got is that athletically, you're probably better than Navy top to bottom. You got to match their toughness, don't you? He said, oh, yeah. He goes, wait, when our guys complain about having to go to school and that, we just tell them what these guys at the service academies go through even before they hit the practice field. Keep in mind, this game last year up at the Naval Academy, up at Annapolis, USF got down 14-0 like that. Back. They got down again to UAB. They got down again to FAU and came back. I think the culture, which I asked both coordinators, I said, that doesn't happen in a day, a week, or a season. He said, yeah, it's starting to come together because our older guys are starting to believe. I think this is a game they can win. I wouldn't be surprised if they don't win, simply because playing Navy, it's assignment football.
Yeah.
You got to be disciplined because they're going to run that triple option, and just when you think you got it, that quarterback's going to throw it deep down the middle. They got a wide receiver that could probably play anywhere in the country.
Mm.
We don't normally say that about a service academy, but Army and Navy got athletes this year. And you know what? The problem you have when you play them is win or lose, you're getting beat up because they're just going to maul you, especially in the trenches.
Are you buying the quarterback play for USF with Archie because he had a rough start again, 7 for 17, and then after that he was able to come out of it, and it seemed like the whole offense decided to come out of it, and you just don't understand why this team continues to have slow starts, and even Coach Golish talks about it. But are you buying this quarterback play from USF?
Yes, I am, Peter, because he's getting better with each start. The hardest thing to do, and I'm kind of wondering, and Peter, I'm going to agree with Ryan on this. Why you don't start on defense when you have that option is beyond me, because normally when you're on offense and you come out in that first series, that defense is doing something you did not expect.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a problem. So I'm kind of amazed that they don't, you want the ball. No, I'd want to go in defense right away because let my defense try to stop them, hold them to a field goal or a punt. And then I come out. And then if it's a punt, I'm not really under the gun.
Right.
To make something happen.
All right, man. We have definitely exercised your limits tonight when it comes to voice. We appreciate the time as always. Yep, we're going to definitely bring in the lefty here. Thanks a lot for your time, Mr. Leo Haggerty, and we'll see you on Saturday morning or Saturday afternoon at noon. All right, my friend?
Talk to you then, guys. Take care.
All right, good stuff there. Let's come back out to Mr. Ryan Neal. You got any final thoughts here on the evolution of sports talk television?
I do. I was going to mention I was at UCF in Arizona this past weekend. I went to that game in Orlando, and UCF blew the brakes off of Arizona, which I was a little surprised on. And the only reason I'm talking about UCF is they're an underrated football team. They made some mistakes early in the year. Their record may not show up, but they can still put up a fight. And Arizona came into this year as a top 15 team in the country, and now they have one of the worst records in the Big Ten. And I don't understand it, but it was a pretty fun game. And I got to say, if you're in Florida and you have a chance to go to a UCF game, they call their stadium the bleachers because before the game, they jump up and down and it vibrates the whole place. It's a really solid college atmosphere. I'm giving them a shout out real quick.
All right, man. Good stuff there. Appreciate the time. Go ahead and promote yourself here on the Sports Web.
You can find my articles on ampedupsports.com. I have an Instagram where you can follow me at ryan.nealstercfb. Thank you.
All right, there you go. Ryan Neal with his mother coming on tonight, making an appearance. Mom, we appreciate you, and we appreciate you, Ryan. Enjoy the game on Saturday night. All right, my friend?
I will. Go Tiger.
Good stuff there. All right, we'll come back here. Open phone lines if you want to call up and talk about your Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Of course, falling to 4-5, losing to the Kansas City Chiefs. What was your opinion of the game? Todd Bowles, should he have gone for 2? What's your confidence level when it comes to the San Francisco 49ers on Sunday, an early matchup, which, by the way, we will be live from What the Buck tailgate there, getting you ready for 49ers versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So Bucs fans, come out there and, of course, be there on the post-game edition of the Evolution of Sports Talk Television in collaboration with the J.P. Peterson Show, live on the field right after the game. Give me about 30 minutes to set up. We'll take your phone calls as always. 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. What's your confidence level? What are your thoughts on that Chiefs game? And then, of course, we got turnbuckle talk coming up here in just a little bit. So I know there's a bad taste in everybody's mouth, but you look at the positive, and I continue to be the eternal optimist of this show, and that's what I do here, being covering the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and covering all the Tampa Bay sports teams. Is, once again, this team last year was 4-7. They made a run. So is there a possibility they could lose to the 49ers on Sunday, being 4-6, and then make a run in the second half? Absolutely they can, because the schedule is a lot easier, gets a lot easier with, once again, the Panthers being on there twice. You have the Giants coming out of there. Chargers are okay. I think they'll definitely be a tough matchup. Dallas has given up. You just wonder when they're going to fire their coach, probably after the season. Who knows? So there are definitely some winnable games. The Saints have already fired their coach. So do you still feel confident in this Tampa Bay Buccaneer team? 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. Going back to Greg Cole, I love this. I've never jumped ship. I know there's a lot of people out there right now wanting Todd Bowles fired, but we all know that the Glazers don't do that during the season. And I would say this, with what happened last year and what the injury situation and how it's presented itself, that you would at least have to give him a shot here, see how the season plays out. But is it frustrating? Yes, it is. Because you continue to see this defense struggle. You continue to see missed tackles. Is that on Bowles? No, it's not. It's on the players. You kind of wonder when these players are going to step up. How bad did they want it? If KJ Britt is going to start for this team, he needs to start making tackles. He needs to start making some plays. I don't think he can get better in coverage. That's for sure. Guys in that back end, Antoine Winfield Jr., whether he's hurt or not, most likely he's not 100%, has to start playing like the best safety in the game, because he's being paid as such. He's the highest paid defensive back out there, and he hasn't played up to snuff. And I think Jordan Whitehead has been disappointing too. In fact, I said that on Monday night. That was probably the most surprising aspect of this team, is that back end of your defense. And I get it. It's all predicated on the front end. When you get pressure on the quarterback, it takes pressure off of that back end. But guys got to start making plays, or this team is going to be looking at 4-6. 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. You have this matchup coming in with Christian McCaffrey and, of course, Brock Purdy and the San Francisco 49ers, who have had their own injury concerns, losing Brandon Ayuk. Who could forget last year? What was it, 76 yards with Jamel Dean falling down like the old woman in that commercial of "I've fallen and I can't get up," going for the 76-yard touchdown. Let's go out to the phone lines here. Let's lead it off with Dave. Dave, great job. Welcome to the evolution of Sports Talk Television as you're on the sports web here on a happy hump day. What's going on, boss? Okay. Dave, are you there? Dave, are you there? Okay, I'm not getting anybody here. I don't know what's going on. All right, stand by, Dave. I'll have to give you a call back. I don't know what's going on with my phone line here, so just stand by. Let's see if this will work, because sometimes technology can be a bitch. So let's see if it'll work this time.
Great job.
Yeah, it's a great job. You know what happened? Yes, yeah, absolutely. We're on. That's what happens. No, it's not your fault. It's my fault. It's also my dog's fault, because he has these big time paws. And, you know, Alexander, he knows what's going on. He's a creature of habit, if you will. He sees me at 5:30 doing the sales job that we do every day. He looks at me. He puts his big paw down on the floor, which hits the mixer, and it knocks the sound down. So I'm going crazy thinking that my tech is not correct, and it's just Alexander. All right, what's on your mind tonight?
Hey, buddy. Hey, I just want to double check some things here. I know you've been talking about the Bucs. I just got in, but
yes,
you know, I'm looking at their depth chart, and I know with Evans, I don't think he's coming back this week, right? Is he coming back?
He's not coming back this week, but definitely a lot of Bucs fans were glad to see him on the sideline running. Good. He's expected back after the bye week, and that makes sense there, because that could have been a critical injury where not only you lose Godwin that night, but you also lose Evans for the year, and he's had those constant hamstring issues, so you don't want to continue that. You don't want that to be a lingering thing. Honestly, a lot of fans out there, and I think, you know, I would speak for you also, and you would say the same thing, is when he came up lame with that first touchdown because he didn't. They should have taken him out. There was no reason to play after that. I get it. He's your best option. He's your best weapon. But, the season is still young here. You're going to need him to be one of the focal points of your offense, especially with the loss of Godwin.
I was looking at the landscape on these trade deadlines, and I see the Jets got Adams, and then, of course, the Chiefs picked up.
Which, by the way,
Hopkins.
that has not worked out very well for Aaron Rodgers. Congratulations, Aaron Rodgers. You still suck.
They're working on, but I'm shocked at why. Maybe you can help me out here. Why the Bucs management didn't try to go after a receiver, knowing that Goodwin, is out.
Well, that's a great question because I posted this on Facebook, and I don't know if you have Facebook, but I posted it the other day. Mike Evans is coming back in a couple weeks after the bye week. And then on top of it, Sterling Shepard, he has veteran experience. He's been stepping up. Cade Otton has stepped up at the tight end position. Jalen McMillan looks like he could come back. Trey Palmer. So I feel like what the Bucs are looking at is if you have to make a trade for a wide receiver, why do that? Because even though you're without Godwin, you still have guys on this team that could be productive, namely in Evans. You had Ryan Miller step up. So they don't really feel like that's a need. And then a lot of people would say, well, why not make a trade for a corner? Same situation. You're getting Jamel Dean back in a couple of weeks. They feel like that secondary, that back end will be better. God help us, it will be a lot better than having Josh Hayes or Funderburk back there. I mean, I never realized how important Dean was to that back end as a corner, but he's definitely important. So I think that's where the Bucs are looking. For me, Dave, if the Bucs were going to make a move, you make a move for an edge rusher, even though you're giving up a first or second round pick, you get somebody that's going to be a superstar like a Myles Garrett or a Max Crosby, and then you have to pay him the money. And that's the difficult thing. And then, from an Adam Sandler movie, it takes two to tango. And the other team was not looking to tango, obviously.
I just thought that they could just pick, give it maybe a third or fourth round pick, a fifth, and get somebody like a Hopkins or Adams or something where they could get that key receiver that could maybe pull a double team and, change the defense. I mean, I like Palmer and Millen, these guys, but it seems like they just missed. It was a key play where I think Palmer missed a critical third down, 3rd and 4.
Sure.
And then they try to do this that draw, and then they get the hold on the draw, and then it was just a couple of things that are just right there. I mean, I love the grit, and they almost beat the Chiefs. They should have beat the Chiefs. And
what was your opinion of that? Would you like to see Todd Bowles go for that 2-point conversion?
If I would look at the defense, and the way I looked at their defense's demeanor and their body language, they looked exhausted. Did you notice that at the end of the game?
They were gassed.
So I was thinking they were gassed. So when I saw that they were gassed, I would have had to say, we got it. What they should have done was just run up, not call timeout, just run up play,
right?
And then actually even just go for 2 quickly as well. But I would have said, I would have gone for 2 only because the defense just looked totally gassed out. They were just had hands on hips, and they had a battle on their hands, and they were just wiped out. So I would have went for 2, and then he would have been criticized if they missed it. Oh, why did they go for 2? They should, either way. You can't win that situation.
I wouldn't have criticized them, but I know there would have been a fan base out there that would have criticized them. But if you looked at the game, the defense was completely dominated the later third quarter, and then also mostly in that fourth quarter there where the Bucs offense is able to, get a drive there and tie the game. I would have rather them go for 2, but that's neither here nor there. It's over with. You got to turn the page here with the San Francisco 49ers. What's your confidence level with this Bucs team versus the 49ers on Sunday?
Well, I mean, they got a couple, I think, is Samuel playing? Samuel's healthy?
I believe Deebo Samuel is going to be healthy. Let me just check right now if he's going to play in this game. Yeah. He
was illness, but I know that obviously Ayuk is out right now. CMC is still, I think they said he was at practice. I'm not sure if he's coming back. McCaffrey, right?
Yeah, Christian McCaffrey. That's the concern at this point for a lot of Bucs fans, and seeing the way this run defense has just been not good, right? Yeah. I mean, not Bucs, but I don't know what happened either, because you still have Vita Vea there. You still have Kalijah Cansey. It has to go to the linebacking situation, which once again has been the Achilles heel of this team with KJ Britt. And then also, I think, Jordan Whitehead and Antoine Winfield Jr., they have to share some blame, because when they're coming up in the box, they're also missing tackles.
That's true. That's true. I think if CMC's still out and with Ayuk out, I believe that the Bucs should be able to win this game. And again, they finished 9-8, and they'd have to be ahead of the Falcons because the Falcons have the tiebreaker.
Correct.
But I think if the Falcons go 8-9, they stumble. I think the Bucs can win 9-8 or even 10-7. But I still think they could win the division because they got easy street after this. I mean, I think they still got the Panthers for 2 games, right?
You still got the Panthers, you got the Giants there. It's not a cavalcade of great teams. It really isn't. They're pretty much the dregs of the National Football League. You should beat them. But when we say that, those are always the trap games because Carolina will always give the Bucs everything they can handle with Dave Canales. That he wants to beat that team, the Giants. I think Daniel Jones is a horrific quarterback, should have never been paid. In fact, they should have taken that money and invested it in Saquon Barkley. And now you see what Barkley is doing for the Eagles, which, by the way, they're 6-2. Isn't it crazy here, Dave? The Bucs beat Washington, which is a top team in the NFC. They beat Detroit, which is a top team in the NFC. They beat Philadelphia, but you lose to Denver, which is a bad loss. You lose to Baltimore, which, they're a top team in the AFC. I mean, they've beaten teams this year. You lose to KC, you lose to Atlanta twice. You could have won both of those games. It's just a shame that if you don't have any other year, if your defense is able to be productive, get after the quarterback and calls turnovers, we may be talking about a different record.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it could have split the Falcons, and then of course they lost to the Saints, right? They lost the game Saints.
No, they beat the Saints. The Bucs beat the Saints. Yeah.
Oh, right, they blew them out.
51-27. They blew their doors off. I
was thinking of something else, but they split with the Falcons. I think again they've got a easier last 8 games here. They should be able to go 6-2 in the stretch here in the second half.
Okay.
And I think they win the division. Let's go on. Let's win the division.
All right.
I'm calling it right now. They're winning the division.
All right. So, Dave, right now, we're marking it down. We're marking it down here on November 6th of 2024. Right. Dave says the Bucs win the NFC South. All right. Anything else, my friend?
Well, I'll call back for turnbuckle.
All right. Use that second call, my friend. Appreciate you. Yes, right there. Great job. Open phone line, 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. Let's go out to KR here. Evening, Peter. And we are ready for the 49ers. I hope they're ready for the 49ers because that's going to be a challenge. And it's been a challenge the last couple of years. And we got you covered here on What the Buck tailgate. Will be live there on Sunday morning at about 10 a.m. Let's see if I can get up early. The great thing about moving to Tampa is I'm only down the street from Raymond James Stadium. And it's so funny. A lot of the web heads out there on social media were like, I thought you already lived in Tampa. No, I lived in Holiday, a little ways away, about 45 minutes, a little bit longer with traffic. But now it's going to be, an easy transition to get to Raymond James because it's only like 5 minutes down the street. Let's go out to KR here. I hope Bulls gets held accountable for some of those losses with the coaching decisions. I think you have to hold him accountable, don't you, KR? I mean, I would be interested to hear from you, not just from the text message, but to call in and give me your thoughts about Todd Bowles and not just about this Bucs team and your confidence level when it comes against the 49ers. What's your confidence level in Todd Bowles? Do you feel like Dave Moser, where he has done enough, you've seen enough, and this is the kind of coach he is? Or are you willing to give him that second half? Has the Bucs fan base out there given up on Todd Bowles? I think that's a great question. Again, open phone line, 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. KR, where's your confidence level with Todd Bowles? Let's go out to Miss Courtney Reno. They're doing great work there for Amped Up Sports with the reels and everything else. Appreciate you as always. You and your father doing great work with the Sports Web. We appreciate it. Hope the Bucs do better soon. Have a great night, everyone. There you go. Short, sweet, and simple. Yes. I hope everybody. I'm tired of getting on this program and talking about Bucs losses. I don't know about you. I mean, I can be the eternal optimist all you want to, But at the end of the day, if this defense doesn't start making plays and this offense is carrying this team, and eventually this offense is going to have a stinker game, we know it could be coming. So that defense has to step up. Let's go out to the phone lines. What's your name? Where you're calling from? You're on the Evolution.
Hey, Peter, it's KR. Funny enough. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good, buddy. What are you doing? What's your confidence level in Todd Bowles right now? I got to ask that question.
Yeah, I just saying, watching all these losses the last few weeks, it's just been kind of like, it's a little wavering. I'm like, I see the coaching decisions, I see the, ineptness of changing and trying to get this defense prepared week after week, and we keep seeing the same results, and it's just like, what are we going to do at the end of the season?
Yeah.
Because if this team do not even make the playoffs, I could definitely see a change, but I just need to see something different. Maybe this Bucs team do need a new voice after this season, because we do have a hot OC and we don't want to risk losing him. I just don't know what the Glazers and Jason Light are going to do at the end. They're going to have to really have a sit down and think about what's going to happen with the team moving forward.
Well, listen, you can't lose Liam Cohen, okay? Because he is going to be a hot commodity, and he's going to have the temptation to go to one of those teams. And listen, I don't blame him. You look at Dave Canales. He had success here. He had an opportunity to go to Carolina. It hasn't necessarily worked out, but it's one of 32 jobs, so you have to take advantage of it. So if you're the Bucs,
Correct.
You cannot lose Liam Cohen. I think, again, they're going to let this play out, evaluate the situation, and if they feel like they could lose Cohen, don't be surprised if they move on from Bowles. But I'm not ready to give up on him yet, because I do think he's still a defensive mastermind, although this defense has struggled mightily this year, and a lot of that's on Todd Bowles.
I completely agree, especially with some of the way that he's trying to get these guys, into positions to succeed. And we've seen the writing on the wall with, like a Josh Hayes, a Terry Funderburg, KJ Britt. These guys kind of like, these no-name guys that's been in the system.
They're just guys. They're jacks.
Yeah.
That's all they are. Just guys.
Yeah.
They're just guys. Yeah.
And they're struggling. And you can just see it on the field. And it's like, watching KC go down the field for that fourth quarter for literally like an 8-9 minute drive. And it's just like, we're literally watching this, paint just dry, with this team not making, push, especially with a lack of pass rush, coverage in the middle, wide open again. And it seems like the same, story every week now. And I'm kind of like looking at this 49er game, like, what are we going to do here? Because I know they're going to try to run McCaffrey, if he feels he's up to 100% ready to go. I know they're going to try to, exploit him out in the passing game, possibly as another threat if he doesn't want to run the ball, because they do have I think the fourth leading rusher in the league with Jordan Moses, I think the name is, for the Niners.
I think you're right.
And, in the last two games we played against Brock Purdy, he's cooked the Buccaneers with his passing. So, and you got Deebo Samuel on one end, and you got George Kittle on the other end, and they're looking to feast against, this defense that can't, cover in certain spots.
Well, you look at it, and his name is Jordan Mason, and
Jordan
now,
Mason.
He attempts 134 attempts, 685, 3 touchdowns. He's averaging 5.1 yards a game. And listen, this Bucs defense, especially when it comes to stopping the run or not being able to stop the run, because they absolutely got destroyed by Hunt the other night there on Monday. How surprised are you by that? Because we've seen this Bucs defense, and usually their staple is to stop the run, and they just have not been able to do that consistently this year. Are you surprised by that?
Yeah, I am a little surprised, but I noticed too, looking at that particular game with the weather conditions, and I noticed in that second half, that defense was gassed. I could just tell that these guys were tired. That long drive in the fourth quarter really kind of just stuck it to them, and I'm like, please don't go overtime. And I'm like, if we go to overtime, I don't know if they're going to have another repeat of Atlanta. And funny enough, it happened again. It got beat in overtime, with a touchdown. And I'm just like, it's a struggle. It really is. And like you said, we really are missing the weapons on the offensive side of the football. But, Liam Cohen is trying to make, chicken salad out of chicken spit. And, I got to commend him for it. And that's why, like you said, we don't want to afford to lose him, because he's definitely going to be a hot commodity in the offseason.
Yeah, I mean, when your team scores 24 to 30 points a game, your defense should be able to stop the other team, and they just have not been able to do that, especially when it comes to third down and fourth down. So those are the things I'm going to be watching, and you're exactly
Those
right.
are the money drives too. Yeah, those are your money drives, and that's what's beating this team. And it's surprising some of the drives that I did look at. I'm surprised that we didn't go for it on fourth down. But if Todd Bowles is an analytic guy, he's got to kind of play the odds in our favor. Like if you see Baker out there saying, "Look, if I think I can go get it, go after it." Don't just say we're going to go by analytics and say let's put our defense back out there and see if they can make a stop. Which they haven't gelled fundamentally, because look at all the guys that came back for injury, from an Antoine Winfield Jr., from a Jordan Whitehead. We've had Dean been out for a numerous bit of time, and it's like you can just see that this team is not fully gelled on the defensive side of the ball. Even though we got guys that are familiar with the system, they just haven't played enough together. But also too, injuries is definitely the Achilles heel of this team right now.
Yeah, they can't get a break. And the best thing about it is you got your bye week coming up after this game, and there's no other team in the National Football League right now that needs it more than the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Anything else, KR? Because I know you want to talk some turnbuckle talk also.
Yeah, they look like a wounded dog right now, and I'm just like, can we just hold on to the bye week and let's see what happens that last 7 games of the season, so we can try to turn it around. Because like you said, the schedule is favorable, for us to win. We just got to just go on a run and just try to get hot. But yeah, and also with turnbuckle talk, oh yeah, I'm looking forward to some of these events we got coming up. We got Full Gear for AEW at the end of the month, and we also got Survivor Series at the end of the month. So I'm looking forward to it.
All right. Did you watch ECW with on NXT tonight? Did you get a chance to watch that?
I sure did, and I digged it. I dig the old school vibes. I dig some of the ECW legends came back out. I was just looking for one person in particular, and they didn't show up, and I'm like, oh, that was a missed opportunity. I really wish Paul Heyman would have showed up tonight, and that was the person that they could have got back for sure, because I know the fans definitely would have loved that throwback to ECW for sure.
Well, here's the thing. Like, you're doing an ECW show. Did Sandman show up tonight? So how do you do an ECW show without Sandman?
Or Sabu.
Or Sabu. Right, or Tommy Dreamer, and of course, the answer would be they're in other organizations, but especially Paul Heyman, the wise man. But of course, he's in
exactly, and he's the Hall of Famer currently.
Right.
Yeah, and he's currently a Hall of Famer.
Well, they
take advantage of it.
They have to sell the storyline of the Bloodline. They're going to bring him back eventually. Where that?
Yeah,
the payoff of that's going to be amazing. All right, KR, appreciate the time, man. Use that second call
Definitely.
if you want to. All right.
Yes, sir, brother. It's good talking to you there, Peter. Thank you again, man.
Let me give you the Ric Flair. All right. Good stuff, my friend. Open phone line, 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake. Let's go out to the bodyguard of the Berg, Mr. Ralph Williams, right there, as we shift into turnbuckle talk. But let's talk about your favorite team right now, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Give me a run on how they're doing, my friend. Welcome to the Evolution.
Oh, thank you, Peter. It's been a few weeks back. I had some issues with my eyes, and I know you were moving, so it's great to hear you're in Tampa there. The Steelers are doing pretty well. They made a trade for Mike Williams, Preston Smith as well. They need some depth help on the defensive line and also at linebacker, so Preston Smith will fit in there. And then they brought in Mike Williams to complement George Pickens, and I think it's a good trade. We'll get those draft picks back. Omar Khan, they call him the Con Man. He's really good at what he does, and I think he's going to be able to get us back our draft picks that we got rid of. But Wilson is doing really a tremendous job with the leading the team at quarterback. Russell Wilson. And, there's question marks about Justin Fields, whether or not the Steelers are going to keep him or they're going to trade him or what they're going to try to do. He doesn't have a contract at the end of the year, and neither does Russell Wilson. Steelers got to do something. They got to pick one or try to sign both, which I think will be impossible. Rework some contracts, do something. They have to keep some of these guys. Ever since Ben left, we've had bad luck with quarterbacks. We had Kenny Pickett and we had Mitch Trubisky, and it's just been a mess.
Did you say Mitch Trubisky?
Yeah, I call him Trubisky.
Who would you go with at the quarterback situation? Would it be Russell Wilson or would it be Justin Fields?
I like Russell's leadership. I like his experience and his leadership. Justin Fields is coming around. He learned his lesson in Chicago. He's come here. He's 4-2, so we'll see where it goes with Justin Fields. I like him as a quarterback. His running ability is very good. But Russell Wilson is a great team leader and a good quarterback leader as well, and he knows the game.
All right, let's talk about Crown Jewel there with WWE and Saudi Arabia. Of course, Cody Rhodes beats Gunther clean, and I believe Liv also wins the title, but they don't actually win titles. They get a ring. What did you think of that pay-per-view? Do you like it? Did you like the Bloodline storyline? Break it down for me, Ralph.
I didn't expect Solo Sikoa to pin Roman Reigns. That I didn't expect. I missed that match altogether, and I had to watch previews because my wife was at a choir practice for church, so I missed that, and I didn't get in until the Randy Orton Kevin Owens match, which wasn't a match. I missed the first couple matches or whatever. So, but anyway, I got to watch them on rewatch them again on Peacock, and But I think that this Bloodline feud is interesting because. Now you have two Bloodline teams. You have the new Bloodline and the old Bloodline. And I'm interested to see what's going to happen at the Survivor Series War Games. We have talked about, you and I, and I've spoken about it on my Wrestle Talk show. What team or teams are we going to see here? There's rumors and pictures out there of different teams that people think could happen, would happen, or should happen. But the basic team that I think it's going to be Roman Reigns, the Usos, and Sami Zayn versus the current Bloodline. The Rock might get involved somehow, either as a manager or he might get involved in the match. You may even see Cody Rhodes in this match with Roman Reigns on that same team, but I highly doubt it, but you never know.
Yeah, that was also the highlight there. Sami Zayn accidentally kicked Roman Reigns, and of course the Usos confronted him the other night. A lot of people thought Zayn was going to go heel because he was talking to Solo Sikoa. But of course, he showed his true colors, slammed Sikoa. He's a part of the Bloodline. I mean, what do you think of this whole storyline? Is it going to work out? Are they going to continue to have drama here with Sami versus Roman Reigns?
Well, I don't think it's going to be Sami versus Roman Reigns too long. Roman Reigns is stuck between a rock and a hard place. He screwed over all three of these guys. He screwed over the Usos and Sami Zayn. So to be frankly honest with you, Roman Reigns is stuck between a rock and a hard place right now, and he's coming back trying to make friends back. And he has to get with his family. If I'm Roman Reigns, I would accept Sami Zayn into the Bloodline, right? The new Bloodline or the old Bloodline, I mean. And I would go from there because he has nobody else. I don't think he has any other friends at this point, and that would help him right now.
Yeah, and even Sami, he confronts Jay, says, I can't believe you're joining up with these guys. You went on your own, but it definitely makes sense. Let's go out to Christopher Cole here, one of the great web heads of this show. I was hoping that it was Tiffy time to make it to a triple threat match at Crown Jewel. Were you surprised that it's not Tiffy time at this point? When are they going to put the title on her? When is she going to cash in here? What's going to go on with Tiffy?
Well, you have... Liv Morgan and you have Nia Jax. One of them is going to be out for the count. I don't think Liv Morgan is going to be. It's going to be hard to get the title from her when you got Raquel Rodriguez as her bodyguard and Dirty Dom always sticking his nose in everybody's business when it comes to Liv Morgan's matches. They try to put him up in a shark cage and then now they took Rhea Ripley out again. Whoever goes up against Nia Jax and puts her down, I think that's when Tiffy's going to make her move. I think she'll screw Nia Jax over. Liv Morgan, I don't see her doing it too because I don't think she's going to be able to.
It's a good point. All right, let's go out to Shooter and Stash here. Thank God you're talking wrestling. I'm still not over Monday Night Football. Listen, you can talk about it. You can vent on this show. Open phone line, 727-255.
It's sad to hear about that overtime loss, by the way.
I mean, listen, I got to get your opinion on this because to me, I just don't understand it. If Todd Bowles and his comments were, the offense has the momentum. The reason why you don't go for two is the wet conditions. But if you're saying your offense has the momentum, why not go for the 2-point conversion? What do you say?
I say he played the conservative game, and he shouldn't have done that at that point in time. If you need 2 points you need to go for it. I mean, I don't care what kind of weather conditions you have. You can go. I'm sure that the offensive coordinator. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. The new guy,
Liam Cohen. Liam Cohen.
Yeah. I knew it was Liam, but I couldn't remember his last name. So anyway, he, when Liam Cohen needs to come up with something to get that 2 points, because as they say, this is a game of inches, and you need to get every inch you can get out of this game to win the game. And I think Todd Bowles played to lose and didn't play to win. That's what I think.
And there's a lot of the fan base that feels the same way. And look, I think he's going to be evaluated. Hopefully this team can turn it around, but he's got to take chances. He's got to be more aggressive. I get it. He's a defensive-minded coach, but at that point, if you feel like
let your offensive coordinator coach the game. You know what I mean? If if you're a defensive coach, you need the best offensive coordinator you can find and have him coach the game. If you don't know anything about the offense, or you don't choose to stick your nose in it, and let him make the calls and the plays. That's what you need to do.
Well said. All right, let's go out to Shooter and Stash here. The wet conditions, get the F out of here.
That's just an excuse. I mean, he could have went for the 2-point conversion. If Baker Mayfield's has come around as a good quarterback. It's just sad that you guys have had some sad losses. The Steelers are in the same boat, but I'm just saying Tampa Bay's had some sad losses. I rooted for you guys Monday night. I want to see Kansas City get an L, but that didn't happen. So
yeah, it definitely didn't happen. And a lot of fans would mention, the calls once again going against the opposing team, especially with the face mask. That wasn't. It was probably holding, but it went against them. And then the false start, you showed that on the touchdown drive. That once again, the refs. They just need to go to lens crafters at this point. I mean, they just
it's terrible. The officiating is awful. I mean, it really is in both college and the pros. It's worse in college. The ACC, they need to review their officials, because they've screwed Pitt over so bad on so many games with some bad calls, and it's constant. Now we have a new athletic director, Alan Green. He came from Tennessee. Maybe he'll step up and say something to the ACC, because our last athletic director didn't want no part of it.
Well, they just need to start firing guys. I mean, Roger Goodell, you miss the call, you get fired, you get fined. I mean, that's how you're going to be able to correct that mess.
I can't figure out, Peter, how in the world officials get to do whatever they want, and you can't make a comment without getting a fine, or you can't say anything, or you can't even spit in their direction. And then, and the league wants to fine you for that. They're not indestructible. They're not heroes in any way. So I don't understand it. And they make good money, because we just lost our police chief to the Big Ten basketball referee for $3,000 a game. So they make good money. So it's not like they don't.
All right, let's go back out to Shooter and Stash here. Let's read what he has to say. Don't worry, Peter. We are drawing up a Todd Bowles. I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to being a part of that cartoon once again. Everybody like that. I love voicing and being a cartoon. A lot of people think I'm a Looney Tune already. That's what we do here.
Let me say this real quick.
Yes.
Todd Bowles wouldn't be a head coach in this league at all if it wasn't for Bruce Arians. Okay, because he worked under Bruce Arians for so many years, and you think he would learn a little bit more from what he had to have educated himself from Bruce Arians. I mean, Bruce Arians is not a hard guy to learn from. So, I mean, Todd Bowles, I've said this many times. Some people can bake a cake and some people can't. Some people can be coordinators. Some people can be head coaches. Look at Dennis Allen. That I said Dennis Allen was a terrible head coach. The Saints should never hired him. And guess what? I was right. And now he's been fired from his second team as a head coach.
He's been fired from his second team, along with having the same quarterback that he got fired from with the Raiders and Derek.
With the Raiders, exactly.
So definitely has not worked out for him.
This guy sucks.
All right, so open phone lines.
Well, I root for the Buccaneers because of the three Pitt players: Cansey, Whitehead, and Salvacier Dennis.
Well, you like to have Dennis right now because that would solidify the linebacking situation.
He hurt or something?
He is hurt. He's most likely going to be out for the year. You have Whitehead, who's been disappointing, and Cansey started to come around on Monday night with 2 sacks. Going back to turnbuckle talk here in WWE.
Yeah, sure. Do it.
November 2nd, Bill Goldberg announced that he would make a retirement match on WWE television next year on the SEC network. He said, here's the deal. The news of the day is that per 3 executives, Nick Khan, Chris Legentel, and Paul Levesque, of course, Triple H. In 2025, Goldberg is having his retirement match. Now, Goldberg has said over and over again that he feels like WWE, Vince McMahon, namely, screwed him over out of a retirement match. First and foremost, in your opinion, it looks like it's going to be Goldberg versus Gunther. Take my money, or you don't care about this match?
I think Goldberg's going to win this match because it's his retirement match, okay? He's had some bad matches lately. I mean, he lost that one to The Undertaker, and then there was, that one other match he had that was just awful.
It was terrible. It was an atrocious match versus The Undertaker, and he actually nearly killed The Undertaker there because the way he slammed him down, and it just was, it was awful. It was an awful match. And listen,
it was.
Guys stay at the dance too long. And I love Goldberg, and I think his history and his legacy speaks for itself. He's a Hall of Famer in WWE. Nobody's ever going to forget his streak. Is he the greatest wrestler of all time? No. Was he a great character at the time for WCW and a great gimmick? Absolutely. Did it translate over to WWE? Maybe not. But once again, he's a Hall of Famer. So what do you have to prove, Goldberg? So I think,
I think he's doing it for money, because I know one thing. He hasn't acted lately. That I do know. And and then also he has his own car garage. I mean, and he puts out these videos about how to work on cars and stuff like that. That's what he's doing right now. So maybe he needs some money, and anytime he does a match, he gets paid $1 million. So I'll take $1 million just to fall down and lose.
Well, you're going to be doing a lot more than falling down and losing. That's for sure, my friend. I mean,
but if he fights Gunther, I'm going to tell you something right now. I like Gunther. I mean, I don't like his attitude. I don't like the way he conducts himself, but I like him as a wrestler because he's a good wrestler. He blew it in the match against Cody Rhodes because he went to the well too many times. When you go to the well too many times, sometimes you get burned. And he kept on trying to put him in that sleeper hold. And ever since Arn Anderson's been back coaching Cody Rhodes, Cody's gotten better every match.
Are you surprised that they put Cody over on Gunther with such a clean? I
was shocked of that. Yes,
me too. I was surprised that he went over clean because I thought there would be some interference or something messed up there, and they just put him over clean. So
I actually thought the Bloodline would come out, the new Bloodline, because Solo Sikoa has been looking for a match against Cody Rhodes, and Cody's been ducking him. And the WWE doesn't want it. They put Solo on the back burner. So, I mean, I don't know if they're ever going to get any gold back. I don't think so. And right now, going into Survivor Series, they need to worry about the old Bloodline before they worry about belts.
All right, we're on Turnbuckle Talk. I'm your host, Peter Blake, along with the bodyguard of the Berg, Mr. Ralph Williams. Open phone lines if you want to talk professional wrestling action. 727-255-0391. It's 727.
I like the chair there, Peter. What happened to your office chair?
My office chair I could not bring with me, so I decided to substitute a chair instead. And this is a temporary studio right now. We'll be in another room where we can close the door and I don't bother my roommates in the background there.
There you go.
You can hear them in the background. They're yelling right now.
There you go.
He's yelling. He's saying, please don't yell. They're like, they bet me money tonight that you're not going to be able to. And I'm trying to win that bet, but I was a little bit loud before, so I'm hoping I don't wake anybody up or wake any neighbors up. We'll be in the studio there. We're able to close the door and scream as loud as we want to. Of course,
put up your little sound baffling sponges on your wall.
Right, exactly. That's what I need to do. All right, let's go out to Wrestling Observer. They report that Bruce Pritchard and Michael Hayes are currently on temporary leave per multiple WWE sources. The report notes, and this is from also Dave Meltzer, writes that Bruce Pritchard's absence is officially said to be due to a family emergency. Meanwhile, personal issues are the reason for Hayes' absence. The report notes that there is no connection between the two being on leave. Sources in WWE emphasized that it was not a sign of the old guard being moved out. They reiterated that both would be back. Now, of course, Bruce Pritchard talked on that Vince McMahon special on Netflix. It's interesting, though. Could they be moving out both of these gentlemen because they've been a big part of WWE's success? And maybe to a fault also, a lot of people haven't liked Bruce Pritchard and his creative juices, if you will, or his storylines. Could WWE at this point be moving both of those guys out?
Absolutely. They're owned now by TKO. You got Paul Lefebvre running everything. I think that could happen, and I think it will happen because I think it's time for Bruce Pritchard to probably move on. And I agree with if they're going to move on with them, they need to do it now.
Overall, I got to ask you, what do you think about the product? You like Raw, you like SmackDown, of course, Raw going to Netflix here in 2025. I thought NXT has been very impressive, and I think the reason why is not only Triple H putting his fingerprints on it again, but also Shawn Michaels. How impressed have you been with NXT?
He's letting Shawn Michaels do his job, where Vince McMahon wouldn't let Shawn Michaels do his job. So and that's a good thing because Shawn Michaels can add. I want to go back to where you were talking to the gentleman on the phone in regards to Tommy Dreamer not being there. Tommy Dreamer's under contract with TNA Impact Wrestling. He's also under contract with Memphis Wrestling, and he's also been doing some independent stuff because he's been here in Pittsburgh numerous times with the International Wrestling Cartel.
Well, isn't it kind of odd, though, that he's not there because TNA and WWE, they have some type of working or NXT.
Yeah, I was shocked. Sabu's not there. Sandman's working with MLW. I think Sabu's just, going around the country in independent shows.
Yeah, you had Tommy, you had Rob Van Dam tonight get attacked. I thought that was interesting. And he had Bubba Ray, a.k.a. Bully Ray. Of course, he does his own wrestling podcast.
I had the privilege of meeting him.
Oh, yeah. How was that for you? Go ahead and talk about that a little bit.
It was nice. He was working for ROH as a wrestling instructor. And I met him at an ROH event here when it was the old ROH, and they used to tape their events here in Pittsburgh. I worked security at the Stage AE where they used to do their events until COVID hit. And then I met Tony Atlas. I met the Young Bucks. I met Cody Rhodes. In fact, I met Cody Rhodes twice. I met him once with ROH and once and he remembered who I was with AEW when they had their very first event at the Peterson Event Center here in Pittsburgh. I met him as well. So I've met a lot of guys.
It's amazing stuff. Going back to Bubba Ray, do you feel
nice guy.
Do you feel like he's an underrated wrestling talent that we should appreciate more as a single star? Because people, of course, he's a part of the Dudley Boys, one of the greatest tag teams of all time. 24 or 25 world tag team titles with multiple organizations of course with ECW starting out, WWE, and then TNA. But as a single talent, do you feel like he's an underrated?
Yeah, he is. He's a good singles talent as well. I'm actually quite surprised Devon Dudley came back. He said he was never coming back to wrestling, and I'm quite surprised he came back. They have a Legends deal with the WWE, Peter, and I just saw them on on another wrestling company's YouTube channel. I saw them. They were wrestling against a couple guys in an independent match, in an independent event.
Right. Says my roommates in the background there. I love that guy, Steve. Guys, go friend him on Facebook. If I think Steven Carlos, go friend him. He's a good dude. Absolutely big time wrestling fan or big time sports fan. And also big time Bucs fan.
One of the wrestling companies here has Ron Garvin coming in December. I'm going to be there for that. Meet Ron Garvin.
Now, going back to it, Bleacher Report has said that WWE is still working to finalize Goldberg versus Gunther match. The signs are pointing to it, and according to Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer again reporting that Goldberg needs time to work himself back into ring shape. Oh, you think? He's up there in age.
No kidding.
And his match with Gunther is intensively penciled in for WrestleMania. That would be a great WrestleMania match. And the reason why they equate this match happening is, of course, Gunther took a shot at Goldberg by saying Bret Hart was his favorite wrestler. Bret Hart and Goldberg.
And then he insulted his son. So,
yes.
Or he said something to his son that, so Gunther deserves everything he's going to get from Goldberg. And I think that I'm glad this is it for him. I really am.
And see, for me, I don't know if Goldberg wins that retirement match. I don't necessarily think that's the right thing to do. Gunther's already over, but if you want to put him even more over, why not have a legend of wrestling and Goldberg lose to him?
John Cena's coming back next year, so we'll see how that goes. This is his final year, so he'll be back again.
What do you think? Where do you think John Cena is going to go? Who is he going to wrestle? Who do you want to see him wrestle for his final matches? Is it Randy Orton?
Could be, yeah. CM Punk. There's a bunch of guys there that he could wrestle. Cody Rhodes, maybe. I don't know. I mean, I can't say. I don't know what kind of creative they got for him going, but we'll find out.
We will definitely find out. Now, Drew McIntyre.
Retirement. I mean, somebody could come out of retirement that he's fought. Maybe Cena and The Rock.
Yeah.
I'd like to see that match.
It's absolutely possible. We're going to kind of cut this short tonight because I promised my roommates that I would be done by 11. So we got 4 more minutes. We'll go with this one story here, and then we'll get out for the night. Drew McIntyre has taken some personal time. He suffered a serious laceration to his head during the bad blood loss to CM Punk. He also shared a photo of the staples received in his head to close the cut. His ongoing absence from WWE programming goes beyond his recovery from the injury. According to Fightful Select Steve Carrier of Ringside News, that McIntyre is traveling abroad to meet with family. In a post on October 5th, the former world champion said that the last few days have been really tough for me and my family personally. Days earlier, his brother John posted on X that their aunt had died. So Drew McIntyre taking some time off, definitely selling that storyline. What did you think of that rivalry with CM Punk? Did it live up to all the billing? And what can you do with Drew McIntyre next?
I don't know. I can't say. I'm not sure. I don't know what they're going to do with Drew McIntyre at this point. But I think that the rivalry needs to end. I think it dragged on too much. Both of them getting hurt in and out kind of stalled things. I would have loved to have seen them both fighting in some matches and not have to stretch it out as much as they did. I know CM Punk's not – I don't think right now he wants to work full-time. He's still out of shape a little bit. I think he needs to really get back into some ring shape, as far as that goes. But Drew McIntyre, I don't know. They've done everything they can with him, so we'll see.
All right, let's go out to this comment, and we'll wrap it up for the night for Turnbuckle Talk. I can't wait to see the tag team match between Liv and her partner. I forget her name, Raquel Rodriguez, versus the tag team champs and Jade and Bianca Belair. What do you think about that tag match? You're looking forward to seeing that?
I would like to see the match, but I have a bad feeling if they lose Belair and Jade, I think that they're going to split up and Jade's going to screw over Belair. That's what I think.
Well, I think that's eventually going to be a WrestleMania match there. All right, Terrell, appreciate the time. Go ahead and promote yourself here on the Evolution.
I have you can catch me on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Tumblr. I also have 2 radio shows on 1250 AM and 92.5 FM. The Answer here in Pittsburgh. One's the Ralph Williams Show, which will debut Saturday at 8 a.m. And then from 2 to 3 p.m., the Sports Corner radio show. I told everybody I was coming back. It's me, Ralph Williams, Smoking Jim Frazier, Claudia Rosano, and Luther Dupree. And that's from 2 to 3 p.m. on The Answer as well. And I just found out tonight that my External Bum show on Saturday morning will be simulcasted on the Huddle Sports Network on Roku.
Congratulations, my friend. Just killing it as always. The bodyguard of the Berg, Mr. Ralph Williams, thanks a lot for your time here on the Sports Web. All right, boss?
All right. Have a good one with your temporary studio. Hope you get everything organized and back up and running.
Sounds good, my friend. Good stuff there. Absolutely. It's only temporarily right now, but we will have a studio where we're able to close the door and not interrupt my roommates from sleep or whatever they're doing in the background. Thanks a lot to all the guests of the night. We're sorry we couldn't get Seneca Wallace on, but we'll probably get him on next week. Of course, the legend, Mr. Leo Haggerty, former Coach Scout and now media member of Night Sports Productions and Amped Up Sports, newest analyst of Amped Up Sports, Mr. Ryan Nill, and of course, Ralph Williams. Tune in on Sunday morning about 10 o'clock, 10:30, as we'll be live from What the Buck Tailgate, getting you ready for Tampa Bay Buccaneer football, where the Bucs take on the San Francisco 49ers. And of course, at the end of the game, live at Raymond James Stadium on the field, 30 to 35 minutes after the game, we'll be taking your phone calls with the Evolution of Sports Talk Television in collaboration with the JP Peterson Show. As always, like and subscribe to the Sports Web on YouTube. Friend me on Facebook at Peter H. Blake, and do 3 things. We'll try to keep it down because people are sleeping in the background. Bring your passion, bring your excitement. Just don't bring any nonsense. I'm your host, Peter Blake, your Rolex reporter. What time is it? It's my time. And for fans of the Sports Web and the Tampa Bay sports fan, it's your time. We'll see you next time on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television on Sunday morning. Bucs versus the 49ers. Are you ready?